Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling politics and tech.
Ooh.
Always a bit of a roller coaster ride.
You could say that again?
You handed me this massive Joe Rogan episode.
Oh, yeah, the one with
Marc Andreessen.
Marc Andreessen.
Yeah, the venture capitalist.
Right, right.
But our listeners are busy people.
Of course.
So let's get right to it.
Yeah, let's extract the good stuff.
Pull out the really juicy bits.
Exactly.
So Andreessen kind of paints this picture of this huge political shakeup happening right now.
Yeah.
It's not just about Republicans versus Democrats anymore, is it?
Right.
It's something else.
He's saying that the Democrats are becoming more ideologically rigid,
Okay.
which is pushing middle-class and working-class voters away.
Interesting.
And what's interesting is he sees this new multi-ethnic working-class coalition forming, and they're increasingly siding with Trump and the Republicans.
So the old battle lines are kind of blurring.
Yeah.
Which makes predicting the future even harder, I guess.
Absolutely.
He even points to unions,
Oh, wow.
traditionally a Democratic stronghold,
Yeah.
showing signs of this shift.
Interesting.
It's almost like the political compass is just spinning.
It really is a pretty dramatic shift.
Yeah.
And he uses this interesting concept,
Okay.
separating the United States from America.
I like that.
So the United States represents the government and all its systems,
Okay.
while America symbolizes the people
I see.
and their spirit.
So even if you're critical of how the government's operating,
Right.
you can still be optimistic about the people
Yeah,
and their ability to drive change.
exactly.
It's like saying the ship might be off course, but the crew is still capable
Yeah,
and ready to adjust the sails.
I like that analogy.
But he doesn't shy away from some of the darker aspects of
Yeah.
this shift, does he?
No, he doesn't.
He talks about this turbocharged resentment
Yes.
that's brewing.
And he suggests that this resentment
Yeah.
actually flips values on their head. Suddenly, good things start to look bad,
Okay.
and vice versa.
Interesting.
Take philanthropy, for example.
Okay.
There's this idea that it's somehow negative
Okay.
because it emphasizes individual action
Okay.
instead of government control.
Oh, that's fascinating.
It is, isn't it?
It's like saying, don't help your neighbor.
Right.
Let the government handle it.
Exactly.
He uses Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In as another example.
Oh, yeah.
A book encouraging women to take charge of their careers
Right.
was actually seen as a bad thing
By some.
by some.
Yeah.
It seems counterintuitive,
It does, doesn't it?
but this lens of resentment
Yeah.
helps explain
It does.
why ideas that were once considered positive are now facing such strong pushback.
Totally.
It makes you wonder if it's less about specific policies
Yeah.
and more about a fundamental shift in how we view individual action
Right.
versus the role of government.
Versus the role, but exactly.
Okay, let's dive into another big theme, the power of government regulation.
Okay.
Andreessen argues it can actually stifle innovation.
Yes.
Didn't he have a personal experience with this?
He did. He
Okay.
talked about Operation Choke Point,
Operation Choke Point.
where the government pressured banks
Okay.
to basically blacklist businesses
Oh, wow.
they didn't like.
It-
Gun manufacturers, marijuana dispensaries,
Interesting.
and tech founders,
Wow.
even crypto enthusiasts.
So if you're on the wrong side of the political fence,
Yeah,
you could be denied basic banking.
that's his point.
That seems incredibly unfair
It does.
and almost dystopian.
Yeah,
I mean, isn't access to financial services essential
absolutely.
in today's world?
It's a fundamental part of our society.
And that's exactly the point Andreessen is making.
Right.
It raises serious questions
It does.
about how much power the government should have
Yeah,
to control access to these crucial services.
right.
Is it a tool for progress or a weapon against dissent?
That's the question.
That's a chilling thought.
It is.
And it's not just about individual access either.
No, it's not.
He argues that regulations often end up benefiting big companies
Exactly.
at the expense of startups
Yes.
and entrepreneurs.
Uh-huh.
Isn't that what's called regulatory capture?
That's exactly what it is.
So we're seeing this theme of power imbalances emerge.
Yeah.
Big government potentially stifling individual freedom. Established companies using regulations to crush competition.
Right.
And now we need to talk about AI.
Yes. AI.
Where does this incredibly powerful technology fit into all of this?
This is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
And potentially even more concerning.
Okay.
Andreessen worries that AI could become another tool for government control.
Hold on. So you're saying AI could be used
Yeah.
to control what we see and hear,
Potentially.
even more than what's happening now.
That's what he's suggesting.
What makes him think that?
Well, he claims the Biden administration was pushing for tight control over AI development, which would essentially give a small number of government-approved corporations a monopoly on this powerful technology.
So the fear is that AI in the wrong hands could become this ultimate tool for controlling information and stifling dissent.
Exactly.
That was a pretty scary scenario.
It is a scary thought.
Okay, so we've got a potential problem on our hands.
Yeah.
But does Andreessen offer any solutions?
He does.
Is there any way out of this seemingly tightening grip of control?
Well, he does.
Okay.
And it might surprise you.
Okay, I'm listening.
He, along with Elon Musk, advocates for dramatically shrinking the size and scope of government.
So less government, less control.
Exactly.
That's a pretty bold proposition.
It is.
I can't help but wonder if that's throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, it's a valid concern.
Aren't there important functions?
Of course.
That only the government can handle effectively.
Right. You raise a good point. Yeah. It's a radical idea, and there are definitely risks to consider.
Okay.
But Andreessen and Musk argue that the potential benefits outweigh those risks.
I'm all ears. What benefits are they talking about?
Okay, so they believe a leaner, more efficient government would lead to lower national debt.
Okay.
Which in turn would benefit everyone through lower interest rates.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
Most people think of reducing debt as something that benefits the wealthy.
Right.
But lower interest rates would actually help anyone who needs to borrow money.
Yeah.
Whether it's for a mortgage, a car loan, or even starting a small business.
Precisely.
It's about creating a system where everyone has a better chance to succeed.
That's the idea.
But Andreessen acknowledges that simply cutting government programs isn't enough.
No.
He believes there needs to be a cultural shift as well. Okay, so what kind of cultural shift does he have in mind?
He stresses the importance of personal responsibility.
And moving away from a victimhood mentality.
It's interesting.
He believes that individuals have the power to shape their own destinies, and that we shouldn't always look to the government to solve our problems.
It's about taking ownership of our lives.
Yes.
And making choices that align with our values.
Exactly.
But isn't that a bit simplistic?
Right.
What about systemic issues that individuals have little control over?
You're right to point that out.
Yeah.
It's a complex issue, and there are certainly systemic factors at play.
Yeah.
But Andreessen argues that promoting a culture of individual responsibility is still essential for a healthy society.
I can see how that could be a controversial viewpoint.
It can be.
But it's definitely something worth exploring further.
It is.
This has been a lot to take in already.
It has.
We've gone from shifting political alliances to government overreach, and now we're talking about AI and cultural values.
It's a lot.
Before we move on,
is there anything else that really jumps out at you?
Well, one thing that struck me was how personally affected Andreessen seems to have been by his interactions with the Biden administration.
Interesting.
He talked about attending meetings where government officials basically told him which types of startups he should and shouldn't support.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. What kind of startups were they trying to discourage him from backing?
He didn't get into specifics,
Okay.
but he implied that they were startups
Okay.
that didn't align with the administration's vision for the future. He seemed genuinely shaken by this experience, as if it challenged his fundamental beliefs about the role of government in a free society.
It's a reminder that these big abstract ideas about politics and technology actually play out in very real and personal ways.
They do.
And it sounds like Andreessen's personal experience is driving a lot of his thinking.
It seems that way.
About the need for limited government and individual empowerment.
It definitely adds another layer to the conversation.
It does.
It's one thing to talk about these issues in theory.
Right.
But it's another to see how they can impact someone's life and worldview so profoundly.
Well, this deep dive is already proving to be full of surprises.
It is.
And thought-provoking insights.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to see what other gems we uncover.
Me too.
As we continue exploring Andreessen's conversation with Rogan.
Right.
But for now, let's take a short break.
Okay.
And come back refreshed.
Sounds good.
To delve even deeper.
Right. Welcome back.
Back for more.
There's so much to unpack in this conversation.
Absolutely.
And one thing that really stood out to me was Andreessen's emphasis on the power of narratives.
Narratives.
He argues that they can really shape our perception of reality.
Oh, absolutely.
Often without us even realizing it.
He talked about how the media often pushes a very specific narrative. And if you don't fit into that box, you're labeled as like the other.
Right.
Or even worse, completely silenced?
Yes, he even shared a personal story.
Really?
About how he sparked outrage in India.
Oh, no.
With a comment that was perceived as insensitive because he wasn't fully aware of the cultural context.
So he just kind of stepped in it.
He did. He kind of put his foot in his mouth. Yeah. It was a powerful reminder that we need to be more mindful of cultural differences and historical sensitivities.
Especially in today's interconnected world.
Exactly.
It's so easy to make assumptions or say things.
It is.
It could be interpreted in ways we never intended.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a great lesson.
Yeah.
In the importance of empathy.
Yes.
And understanding in our communication.
I agree.
Our words carry weight.
They do.
And we need to be aware of the potential impact they can have on others.
Especially those with different lived experience.
Absolutely. Speaking of shifting perspectives.
Andreessen
also discussed his own political evolution.
Oh, yeah, he did.
He went from being a staunch Democrat to supporting Trump.
It's a pretty significant shift, which he attributes to what he saw as government overreach and a growing disconnect between the elite and the working class.
That's a pretty significant shift.
It is.
It seems like his views on the role of government really changed during the Trump presidency.
They did.
It makes you wonder if we're going to see more people making similar moves as these political lines continue to blur.
It definitely suggests that these political realignments aren't just about party labels, but about deeper changes in values and priorities.
So people are looking for leaders who understand their concerns and offer solutions that resonate with their lived experiences.
Exactly.
And Andreessen isn't alone in this shift.
He's not.
He mentioned several other prominent figures who have also moved away from the Democratic Party, citing similar concerns about government overreach and a disconnect from the needs of everyday Americans.
Interesting.
It makes you wonder, what does this mean for the future of the Democratic Party?
That's a good question.
Can they adapt to this changing landscape?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is.
If they continue to alienate moderate and working-class voters, it's hard to see how they can remain a dominant force in American politics.
Andreessen seems to believe they need a serious course correction.
He does.
If they want to stay relevant.
Yeah.
He even brought up Bill Clinton.
Oh, wow.
As an example of someone who successfully rebranded the Democratic Party after a period of decline.
Interesting.
It's a reminder that parties can evolve and change with the times.
Yeah.
But it takes strong leadership.
It does.
And a willingness to listen to the concerns of voters.
Absolutely.
It'll be fascinating to see how this plays out in the coming years.
It will.
But let's shift gears a bit and talk about media.
Media, all right.
Andreessen also discussed the rise of independent media.
Yes.
And how it's challenging the traditional gatekeepers of information.
It's a fascinating development.
He seemed particularly excited about platforms like Substack.
Substack, yeah.
Where journalists and thinkers can build a direct audience without having to go through the traditional media channels.
Exactly. It's like cutting out the middleman and having a direct conversation with your readers.
And he sees this as a positive development.
He does.
Allowing for a greater diversity of viewpoints.
Yes.
And a more balanced representation of the issues.
Right.
This feels especially important in the age of social media.
It does.
Where it's so easy to get caught in echo chambers and filter bubbles.
It is.
It's like having access to a wider range of perspectives can help us break free from those echo chambers and form more informed opinions.
It's crucial.
But he also expressed concern about the dark side of the internet.
The dark side.
Specifically, the rise of bots and trolls.
Oh, yes.
Who manipulate public opinion and spread misinformation.
That's a huge challenge.
It is.
We're facing in the digital age.
It's becoming increasingly difficult to discern truth from falsehood online.
It is.
How do we know what to believe?
Right.
When we're bombarded with so much information from so many different sources.
It's overwhelming.
It's like trying to drink from a fire hose.
It is.
Andreessen suggested that blockchain technology
could
be part of the solution.
Interesting.
As it could be used to verify the authenticity of information and create a more transparent online ecosystem.
So it's like a digital signature.
It is.
That proves the origin and integrity of information.
This could be a game changer.
It could.
In the fight against misinformation and fake news.
Absolutely.
It's like having a built-in lie detector for the internet.
I like that.
I can see how that could be incredibly powerful.
It could.
It could also revolutionize other areas.
Right.
Like voting.
Voting, okay.
Imagine a secure and transparent system.
Yeah.
Where every vote could be verified.
Right.
And traced back to its source.
That would certainly address a lot of concerns about election integrity and fraud.
But let's bring it back to this theme of government control.
Okay.
Andreessen also had some strong opinions.
He did.
About the potential dangers of a centralized digital currency.
He was extremely critical of this idea.
He was.
Arguing that it would give the government unprecedented power to track and control our financial transactions.
Wow.
It could be used to punish people for their political beliefs or for engaging in activities the government disapproves of.
He painted a pretty chilling picture.
He did?
Even comparing it to China's social credit system, where citizens are constantly monitored and their behavior is scored.
It's a scary thought.
It's like Big Brother meets your bank account.
Exactly.
It's a stark reminder that we need to be incredibly careful.
We do.
About how we integrate technology into our lives.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to areas like finance and personal data.
Absolutely.
We need to ensure that our privacy and individual liberties are protected.
Yes.
Not eroded.
He specifically criticized Maxine Waters for advocating for a centralized digital currency in the United States.
Interesting.
Arguing that it would be a huge step in the wrong direction.
What does he propose instead?
Well, Andreessen believes the U.S. should be fostering innovation and competition in the financial sector, not handing the government more control over our money.
I see.
He argues that a free market approach is the best way to ensure a healthy and dynamic economy.
He pointed to the fact that many Chinese entrepreneurs and tech founders are fleeing China.
They are.
Because of the government's crackdown on private businesses.
Right.
It seems like he sees this as a cautionary tale.
It's a warning about what can happen when government control goes too far.
It's a reminder that economic freedom and individual liberty are intertwined.
They are.
And that excessive government control can stifle innovation. And ultimately harm society.
So if a centralized digital currency is off the table, what does Andreessen see as the path forward for America in the 21st century?
He believes that America should double down on its strengths.
Which are?
Innovation. Individual liberty. And a free market economy.
He seems confident that by leveraging these strengths, America can maintain its position as a global leader.
There's a sense of optimism there.
There is.
Even amidst all the concerns he raised.
So, like he believes America has the potential to overcome these challenges and emerge even stronger.
He also seems hopeful
about
the potential for a new political realignment that could lead to more responsible and effective governance. He specifically mentioned the emerging multi-ethnic working class coalition. That's aligning with the Republican Party as a potential source of positive change.
It's like he's seeing the beginnings of a movement that could challenge the status quo and bring fresh ideas to the table.
And he emphasized the importance of electing leaders
who
understand technology and are committed to fostering innovation rather than trying to control it.
He mentioned figures like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy as examples of this new breed of leader.
The new breed of leader.
People who aren't afraid to think outside the box and challenge conventional wisdom.
He also spoke about RFK Jr.
RFK Jr.
And his hope that he can bring about meaningful change in the healthcare system.
Especially when it comes to tackling obesity and promoting personal responsibility.
It's interesting how he's weaving together all these seemingly disparate threads. Politics, technology, culture, and even health into this overarching narrative about the future of America.
It's definitely a complex and multifaceted vision.
It is.
But I think the overarching message is one of hope and possibility.
Hope and possibility.
He seems to believe that America has the capacity to adapt and evolve, to overcome its current challenges and create a better future for all its citizens.
This deep dive has been quite a journey so far.
It has been.
We've explored Andreessen's insights on everything from political realignment and the power of narratives to the potential of blockchain technology and the dangers of government overreach.
It's a lot to process for sure.
It is.
But I think it's important to take a moment to reflect on what we've learned and how it might apply to our own lives.
I couldn't agree more. Let's take a short break to gather our thoughts.
Sounds good.
And then come back for the final part of our deep dive.
All right.
We'll distill all of these insights into some key takeaways. And explore some potential action steps you can take to navigate this complex and ever-changing world.
Sounds good.
Welcome back for the final part of our deep dive.
We made it.
We've covered a lot of ground with Marc Andreessen's views.
Yeah, a lot.
Everything from shifting political sands to the power of tech and even a bit of
a little bit of
cultural philosophy.
Cultural philosophy.
It's always good to mix it up.
My head is spinning in a good way.
That's a lot to process.
It is, but with so much swirling around.
Yeah.
Let's try to land this plane smoothly.
Okay, let's do it.
If our listeners had to walk away with just a few key takeaways, what would those be?
Well, I think the biggest one is that we're living in a time of immense change. Both politically and technologically.
So buckle up.
Buckle up.
Because it's going to be a wild ride.
It's going to be a wild ride.
But seriously, how can we navigate this uncertainty in a way that empowers us rather than leaving us feeling totally overwhelmed?
Andreessen really stresses the importance of critical thinking.
Okay, critical thinking. Yeah, we can't just passively consume information.
Especially from sources that might have a particular agenda.
Exactly.
He was especially wary of the mainstream media, wasn't he?
He was.
He seemed to believe they often push a very specific narrative.
Right.
And if you don't question that narrative, you're basically letting them control your perception of reality.
It's like he's saying, don't just swallow the blue pill.
Don't swallow the blue.
Seek out different perspectives.
Yeah.
Challenge assumptions.
Okay.
And think for yourself.
Think for yourself. And that ties in nicely with another key takeaway.
Okay, what's that?
Individual responsibility.
Individual responsibility.
He really hammered home the idea that we can't just rely on the government to solve all our problems.
Right.
We have to take ownership of our lives.
Yeah.
And make choices that align with our values.
And he kept coming back to that concept of leaning in.
Leaning in, even though it was controversial.
Yeah, even though it's controversial.
It's about taking initiative, advocating for yourself.
For making conscious choices.
Especially in a world that's constantly trying to pull you in different directions.
It's about being the captain of your own ship.
Exactly.
Even when the seas are rough.
Even when the seas are rough.
But even the most capable captain needs a crew.
That's true.
Andreessen also talked about the importance of community.
Yes.
And finding your tribe.
Finding your tribe.
People who share your values and can support you on this journey.
He contrasted those two types of dinner parties in Silicon Valley.
Oh, yeah.
One where everyone agrees with the New York Times.
Right.
And another where people are more open to challenging each other's ideas.
I see.
It highlighted the need for authentic conversations.
Yeah.
And genuine connections, even amidst disagreement.
It's a reminder that even in this hyper-connected world, it's easy to feel isolated and lost.
Yeah, it is.
Finding your people.
Finding your people.
Those who challenge you to think critically.
Yeah.
And support your growth is crucial. It is amidst all the concerns about political turmoil and the potential downsides of tech. Andreessen still manages to be optimistic.
He does.
He believes that America, with its spirit of innovation and individual liberty, can overcome its current challenges.
So he's saying don't despair.
Don't despair.
The future is not predetermined.
Right.
We have the power to shape it.
And he sees technology as a key driver of progress. As long as we use it wisely and ethically.
It's not about rejecting tech.
No.
But about harnessing its power for good.
Exactly.
So the message here isn't to retreat into fear.
Right.
But to engage with the world.
Yes.
Ask tough questions. And be active participants in shaping the future.
I love that.
What an inspiring way to end this deep dive.
It really is. Andreessen's perspective is a potent reminder.
Yeah.
That we all have a role to play in navigating the complexities of our time.
Absolutely. And if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, don't stop here.
No, keep going.
Research political realignment.
Yeah.
Explore the ethical implications of AI.
Learn more.
Or delve into the history of government regulation.
There's a whole world of knowledge waiting to be discovered.
There is. So go out there, explore, and engage with the world.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to challenge assumptions and seek truth.
The future is ours to create.